Good morning on what is a cool, bright and sunny day. It is Saturday the 10th of September and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea and a big pile of boxes to open. I've just got these boxes from falling over. So I'm going to continue opening this one. And inside I'll pull out yet another box, which is this, which is the classic Pocket Games bundle published by Steve Jackson Games, which contains all of this. It contains so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games, including Undead, Necromancer, Raid on Iran, One-Page Bulge, Kung Fu at 2100, Awful Green Things. Now, these are all classic little pocket games, originally published by Steve Jackson Games in the early 80s. And they would have come in a little plastic Ziploc bag, or they would have come in later on like a clamshell case, and they've upgraded the packaging because I've been going through this box already. But back in the late 70s and the early 80s, well, there was sort of like a little craze, I say craze, sort of like one of the formats for the games of the period were mini games, little games, typically war game like, because that is what the kind of games, how most people kind of thought of games of the period, that we packaged in small boxes, and offered sort of like limited gameplay around particular themes. Now, the biggest publishers of the one would have been Metagaming, Metagames in the late 70s, early 80s, and some of those would have included the sort of like the combat games that became a role-playing game, Melee and Wizard. Also other games, and the notable other ones for Steve Jackson Games would have been Ogre and, of course, Car Wars. But also did a number of these. Task Force Games did some, and also TSR did some. And they're all quite rare and collectible in their original format. But with this bundle, Steve Jackson Games brought some back. I'll just show you what we've got in the box, hopefully without dropping anything. And so far, I have opened 2. So Kung Fu 2100 and Raid on Iran, which are interesting little games in themselves. What I'm going to open next is another historical war game, One-Page Bulge. Now, the other historical war game in the series, or semi-historical war game, is Raid on Iran of a sort, because this was like a look at what would have happened if the raid on Iran to rescue the hostages in 1980 would have succeeded. But this is actually based upon a historical battle, something that actually occurred. It's the only war game in this bundle, in this set like that. So, a classic returns. This reproduction was created with the best copy of the original that we could find. Every component was painstakingly scanned, touched up, and reproduced in a form as near identical to the original game as we could manage. Includes retro-style rules, map, and counter sheets, as well as a second set of die counters. Now, this is a war game of essentially Hitler's last gamble on the Western Front in World War II, where he attempted to break through the Allied lines with a massive push of forces and tanks through the Ardennes in Belgium. So let's open up and find out what it is like inside. Because famously it became known as the Battle of the Bulge, because that's what it looked like on the map. It was like a big bulge. Okay, so let's get the cellophane off. Okay, so that actually comes off because it's under the cellophane, and what you've got is the original backing on the stairs. So, Battle of the Bulge, a regimental level game with complete detailed rules, including weather and allied air superiority, German supply and isolation, optional sections for British section, and capture of allied supplies. With only 1 page of rules. 1 page Bulge such as a challenge. Was it possible to design a good war game and keep the rules down to a single 8.5 times 11 sheet of paper? Play it and find out. War game rules don't have to be long and confusing. It's a short game, but not a trivial one. 1 page Bulge is challenging, fast and playable, but a good representation of the last great German offensive of World War II. Components include 16-inch by 13-inch full-colour map, 112 unit counters in 3 colours, turn record trek with CRT or combat results table, ziploc bag for counters, plastic box, and 1 page of rules. For 1 or 2 players, playing time 1 or 2 hours. So let's find how to get these books. Okay. They are quite tight to get open initially, so I'm trying to open this carefully and not injure myself. So just going to get them to click. There we go. So what's interesting that this promises low preparation of play, detailed kind of play, but not big. And the thing is, when this came out, war games had been really popular. They weren't quite as popular as they once had been, but this offered sort of like a pocket-friendly alternative. So inside we have a set of 2 6-sided dice, complete with the eye pyramid, which you'll be familiar with from just about every Steve Jackson game. Beneath that, we've got, these are the die cut counters, and you cut these out and put them down, but of course, because this is a modern you're going to make it easy, because this is on light card, this is on slightly thicker card, die cut, easy to remove, and prayer and play. So I'm going to put those back in the game box. And then what we've got, okay, there's no separate rule book, there's no separate map. Instead, what you have is this. Now we saw this earlier with basically when I did an unboxing of Kung Fu 2100. Now the interesting thing is that this is much smaller, much more, much easier to use than 2100, because that was quite a huge sheet. This is much more manageable. So what you're meant to do is take this, cut along the dotted lines, okay, until you've got the component part. But could they could fit everything on 1 page? We'll find out about the rules. But in terms of packaging, just printing this out onto essentially what is an A2, sort of like sort of slightly larger than, it's not A4, it's sort of like midway between A4 and A2. Sorry, A3. A2, A3. Yeah, much easier to. So what have we got on here? Let's have a look. See if I can. So you've got the introduction there, and then how do the rules start? Let's just see if we've got a bit more context. It's a little bit difficult to navigate because obviously it's almost not linear, because you're sort of like it's all over the poster. And the thing is, it's sort of like, because you're cutting it here, you've got the rules over the sort of like over the top of the page as well. That's a little bit odd. But anyway, so we have the introduction here, so all the way through down getting into the rules. We've got the combat results table there. So that's as well as a turn record track. And about this game, we've got a bit of context as well, and I do like this. Essentially, it's got a nice piece of context which I really do like. Essentially, why this game came about, which is that about a year ago, SBI's Redmond Simonson, who's a noted designer for SBI, who was a big publisher of war games back in the 70s, was writing in Muse magazine, was discussing game rules, long rules and short rules. He posed a question: was it possible to get all the rules for a war game in charts and tables included onto both sides of an 8.5 times 11-inch sheet piece of paper? And Steve Jackson said, when I read that, my immediate reaction was, sure, why not? But it took research, writing, and lots of rewriting. To writing and playtesting this game was made for a fascinating exercise in brevity and clarity. And there's also an extension. There's also you've got some guidance in how to play the game. Hints for play. For the German, be decisive. Try to smash the Allied line in first turn. Use your momentum. Allies, don't have to destroy your foe. Just delay him. Often a counterattack will be the best way to accomplish this, but only when your forces are locally superior. And it admits that essentially, One-Page Bulge is well suited for a solitaire player since the number of units is relatively small. And no units are concealed. And then physical format, discussing that essentially as an experiment. And we've got historical notes as well. And the rules essentially on this section of the map, essentially of the sheet, and then the map itself, not too large, easy to put down on the table, sort of representing. Let's have a look. Essentially, it's sort of plague-like. That I think with the sort of the German forces sort of coming on this edge. So yeah, that is One-Page Bulge from Steve Jackson Games. An exercise in concision and design and getting a board game, so like a war game, down to that size, and certainly one of that sort of level. And it all comes nicely packaged in this little box. So it's nice and sturdy. So and I think obviously this one is will stand up to repeated play to a certain extent. It's a classic little design. There are more detailed and longer treatments of this battle if you look for them. But this one would have been obviously available in your friendly local gaming store because it would have been easy to get in and put on the shelf. And war games are sort of like were kind of falling out of favour at this point. So yeah. Interesting to have this back, interesting to have a look at this and do a proper review in the future. In the meantime, that's One-Page Bulge, part of the Pocket Games bundle published by Steve Jackson Games. Anyway, hope you have enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate that you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box actually containing another box from which I will unbox a game or book, and in this case a game, and chat about it to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do hit on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing the Nook. I'll be back again soon. Bye for now.